Hello, and welcome to this evening's virtual Parents Information Evening. There will follow a series of videos from key members of staff with useful information for you to support your son or daughter over this academic year. Obviously, the format for today is a little bit different to usual, being virtual as opposed to in person. So if you do have any questions which arise as you're watching any of the presentations, then please enter them as comments underneath the video on YouTube. We'll receive those comments and then we will produce a frequently asked question document to answer the questions that arise, and we will share that with you over the next week or so. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch the following presentations, and I hope that you find them useful in supporting your son and daughter this year.
Hello, my name is Dee Fanchi, Head of Sixth Form at John College School, and thank you for joining me, albeit virtually, for this Parents Information presentation. If you have a son or daughter going into Year 13, you will be aware that there are some big decisions to be made by your children this year, and the idea of this presentation is to just give you a steer on the kind of things that we will be doing in school, and to suggest ways that you can best support your children at home. We do appreciate that they are young adults now, but we do also realise that sometimes they still need a little bit of a nudge. So the idea of the information that you're going to have today is that you can then support at home by asking the right questions and by talking to your children about things that are happening in school. So just wanted to share with you some of the comments that were made both by students and parents of students who have just left us in Year 13. It makes really clear that parents obviously are hugely invested in their children's futures, and we want you to be as involved in that process within school as possible as well. If your son or daughter is applying through UCAS, I'm going to talk to you this evening about how that process works. And similarly, if they are looking at apprenticeships, then there are things that you could do at home to support them in searching for those, and obviously through the interview process as well. The beauty of this presentation is that you're able to pause and read as much information as you want, and you can obviously watch the presentation again and again should you so choose. So let's move on. This is what it's all about. The smiling faces, the students going to where they want to get to. It's really important to us that students leave us with options and they leave us with a plan and they know what it is they would like to work towards. That does not have to be university, and certainly we will be giving information again this year, as we have done throughout Year 12, looking at a wide variety of routes. It's more important now than ever that our students leave us with a plan, and usually a plan B as well, because as we have learned this year, we don't really know what's going to happen. Preparation is certainly key, and that's the message we've been giving to all students. The destination of our leavers last year, again, the vast majority leave us to go on to higher education. A gap year was taken by one student last year. Again, we will present the information for students who are interested in gap years and working and travelling. But with the global situation, it's important that they have thought that through very carefully, and certainly we would encourage them to have discussions with you at home about that. We are happy for students to leave us and go into employment, and certainly we've produced some support work with them too, in terms of preparing for interviews and writing letters of application. We're really pleased this year in the sixth form team to have Mrs. Sinecal still with us, but she's moved into her new role of careers coordinator, and over the next week or so we'll be meeting with every single Year 13 student to start to talk to them about their plans for when they leave us, and she will be supporting them in school with that. So if they ever are struggling with motivation, perhaps this is a good slide to show your children about, the reason why they're here and what they're doing it for. We are a pathway to their future and their next steps. Of course, results were a little different in the summer. It's been well documented in the media, and you can see in red on this slide the centre assessed grade results for Year 13 from the summer. I have also on here the performance of the last 2 years, so you can see where we were with that. We are doing everything we can to support young people as they progress through Year 13, but it is for them to do the work and it is for them to be motivated. I know they've had a little taste of that as they've been off on remote learning at home, and hopefully we can remain in school educating them as we would wish. But if we do have to go back to some sort of remote learning, it is really helpful if you can do everything you can at home to remind them of those good study habits and remind them that it is all about those results at the end. So we're going to just remind you of daily matters, attendance, punctuality, dress code, just so you're clear on what is expected from your sons and daughters. A little look at the amended structure of curriculum study periods, a I mentioned about any enrichment and extracurricular opportunities. We still would like students to have those throughout the year. Supporting learning in year 2, what does the second year of BTEC and A-level study look like? A reminder about the Unifog platform, something about UCAS as well, which obviously affects the vast majority of our students. And whilst we can't meet the tutor and have the informal Q&A this year, there is an opportunity for you to get in touch with your child's form tutor, and I'll be sharing those details at the end. The sixth form is no different from the rest of our school in that our 2 priorities are both the academic development and character development of our students. We're having to be a little more creative with the character development this year, obviously, as some opportunities are not open to us. But it is my aim and the aim of the sixth form team to ensure that we are offering students as many opportunities to get involved with the wider life of the school as possible, and certainly with their community, because we know that that's really valuable for them to write in their personal statements and also to talk about it at future interviews. The 3 R's continue to run through the sixth form, and we would expect all students in the sixth form to step up to being ready, respectful and responsible, both in lessons but also around the school as well. More important this year that we are modelling really good behaviour and that Year 13 students are integral to that process. It's really important that they are responsible, say, for their own learning and making sure that they're pushing themselves to reach the heights that we would hope that they can reach. So a little bit about daily matters. Students must still be in school by 8:30 a.m. And register punctually. The adjustment to that this year for Year 13, you would have had this in an email recently, is that where students have no timetabled lessons on a day, I am allowing them to take a home study day. It seems a reasonable adjustment so that they don't have to make unnecessary journeys on public transport, and obviously it helps in school if we're limiting numbers of students in the study room. Reports will continue to show percentage attendance to lessons, because the expectation is that even if there is an increase in home study, that students are still attending their timetabled lessons regularly. We know that high attendance underpins excellent progress. If your son or daughter is ill or unable to come to school, as normal, we would expect them to get into touch with us. They can do that through ringing the absence line to matron, or they can email Miss Rose. Her details are on the slide at the end. Once students get to 18, we are enabling them to self-certify so they can contact us, but we will still be tracking their patterns of attendance, and if there are any concerns, then we will obviously get in touch with parents and carers. Year 13's dress code is pretty smart. They know the routine by now, but anything you can do at home just to encourage smart business-like dress in line with our dress code would be very much appreciated. So the timetable for Year 13 looks very similar that it did last year, but as I've said, we have made the adjustment, particularly with Year 13, who have proven themselves on the whole to be very good at independent learning and working from home, that they actually have an increased amount of flexi periods. We've tried to make it so that if they have extended periods of time during the school day when they are not in lessons, that they have the flexibility to work from home. That being said, where they have study periods sandwiched between taught lessons, we are expecting them to remain in school. If you are uncertain as a parent about when your child should be home or not home, please do get in touch with us and we can talk you through that on a case-by-case basis. But generally the students have been very good and have responded very positively to those changes. We do want to make sure that students have equal access to the supervised study space where they can do independent work, and obviously access to Chromebooks. So it is important that where they do have study time in school, that they're making the very most of that. Community service is not compulsory for Year 13 this year. They did, on the whole, their 10 hours per term last year and did some really interesting and exciting things. But this year we would rather they focus much more on their 3 courses and getting the best grades they can. Should your son or daughter wish to take part in some community service, and some have volunteered to do some peer mentoring this year, then absolutely they are very welcome to do so. And certainly if their CV or their personal statements is looking a little bit light, then they should be looking for some opportunities to do perhaps some one-off events of community service. If your son or daughter is struggling to find something, do encourage them to come and talk to us at school, and we will support them with that. Revision is going to be central. They've had a lot of time obviously working at home. Hopefully some of the revision has got underway already. It is best for students to do this spacing and retrieval. So rather than sitting down with a textbook and working through an entire chapter all in one go, it's much better for them if they look at a particular topic for a short amount of time and then change to a completely different topic and revise that, and then go back over things they've done previously and mix it up a little bit. You can see in the diagram there, it's much better to do short bursts of different subjects than to revise the same thing for quite a period of time. This much better replicates the way that students have to think and approach exams when they're being asked to select information from different topics for different questions. So if you want to talk to them at home about good revision techniques, flicking through a textbook and making notes is okay, but not for extended periods of time. They're much better off writing themselves some questions or doing constant testing of themselves as well. We should be encouraging that in school through some academic mentoring groups, students working together to sort of study buddy, but certainly sitting down for hours and hours on end with the same subject is not the most effective way to revise. Currently, we do have mock exams still scheduled for after Christmas for Year 13, and I think perhaps the students' views of mock exams will change a little bit this year in light of last year. Again, preparation for the mock exams should be starting in the autumn term, definitely before half term. So do encourage some revision at home, help your child get into a good habit, and that will be a really good foundation for their revision. We still have access to Unifog. You've probably heard about this in previous information evenings and certainly through the school newsletter. Year 13 are writing their personal statements on there, and teachers will be writing the references on there too before they are submitted to UCAS. Parents can set up an account. There'll be some information coming out shortly in the First Careers newsletter to talk to you about how you can set up an account if you don't already have one. But do ask your sons and daughters to show you their Unifog profile. Some of them have started to do shortlists for universities or apprenticeships, and you can start to have a conversation around what their plans are. There are some really interesting and helpful resources on there too. If you're not really sure about navigating the apprenticeship application processes, or you want some help with them looking at mock interview skills, then Unifog is a great place for that as well. And we would encourage you to get involved and talk to them about their Unifog profile. So for a number of our students, they will be going through the UCAS process. We launched UCAS to the Year 13s when they were in Year 12, just before the school closure. So they all have a UCAS registration. I would encourage students to go through this process to make sure they're in the UCAS system, because some students every year change their mind, even though when they've said that they don't really want to go to university. It's much easier for them and much less stressful for us if we know that everything is in place ready. If they choose not to go to university, they haven't really wasted anything. It's a £26 admin fee, process the UCAS application. It's possibly worth it to keep their options open. If your son or daughter is looking at Oxbridge, and I know we have a couple of students who are, then the deadline is much earlier, 15th of October. So we're working quite intensively with those students to get their applications ready so that we can meet that early deadline. For the rest of the cohort, it is 15th of January is the final deadline. But I have a much happier Christmas holiday when a lot of the UCAS applications have gone in before we break up for Christmas. So that's the deadline we're working towards. Again, you can be encouraging them to check their personal statement. You're probably reading personal statements at home. I'm reading quite a few in school. And there are personal guides for students and for parents on the UCAS website that you can have a look at too. You can pause this video and have a look at the route for UCAS applicants. There are a lot of dates on there. UCAS were very good last year at adjusting as they needed to as the situation changed. So I think they've really planned ahead for this year to make sure that it's clear to parents and applicants about what the process will be. Along with university, often comes student finance. This is the very best link that I found to give you all the details, and certainly for up-to-date information, you would need to check with the websites here. Accommodation will need to be booked only once students have accepted their firm and their insurance choices. So we have a little bit of time before students need to do that, and certainly they might be wanting to hold on a little bit just to see how things go over the next few months. Students will need reminding to apply for financial support. It is an application system. You will have to complete some forms and paperwork, and students will need your help with that because they won't know all the information about household income and things that need to go on that form. So absolutely, they're going to need some support navigating that student finance form. For results day, a little bit thinking ahead, it's really important that students come prepared for whatever happens. So a plan A, a plan B, and often a plan C as well. So talking to your child throughout the year about what those plans might look like will make for a much less stressful results day. Still very important to us in sixth form is making sure that students are nurtured and supported and well cared for, and that their workload is not becoming too great that they're not sure how to cope with it. We talked to them in assembly about a little bit of stress being quite good for us. It helps us, with adrenaline and keeps us focused, but they are aware of when that tipping point comes for them and when they perhaps need to get some more support, talk to somebody at school. Similarly, if you notice a change in their behaviour at home or you're worried about your son or daughter, please do get in contact with us and we will support you in trying to find a way forward for them. We always tell the students there's a huge range of material on the John Colet website which they can access freely to talk through wellbeing. There's a self-guided CBT session and lots of very helpful advice and organisations that can support them. We have an in-school counsellor as well, so if that was a route that they wish to take, then we can put them in touch with them. So here are the details that you need if you would like to get in touch with any of us at any time. We have a growing sixth form staff team now, and you can see all the names there of the form tutors and Miss Rose, who's the new assistant to the head of sixth form. Please do get in touch with us. Our email addresses are there, but if you'd rather phone, please do call the school office and ask for the member of staff that you wish to speak to. You may have some questions, things that perhaps I have not covered. If there is anything, as I said, that crops up that you would like answered, and if lots of parents feel the same, then we will issue those answers on a frequently asked questions sheet. Otherwise, if it's a more bespoke question, then we will certainly get back to you personally. So please do feel free to get in touch with us. Normally at this point of the presentation, we'd be having an informal chat and getting to know each other better. So it'd be lovely if you were able to contact the school with anything that you need us to help you with. So thank you very much indeed for your attention and for watching this presentation. I do hope you found it useful and I look forward to a time when we can meet in person at school very soon.